Hi everyone. Today we're going to take a look at mapping a lesson to the Optimizing Problem-Solving Pentagon. I'm going to choose an assignment from one of my courses, Technology, Fab Lab, and Society. If we take a look at the assignment prompt we had, we're supposed to map an assignment or learning activity onto the Problem-Solving Pentagon and then reflect on what facets that I expect but don't explicitly state, and then look for gaps between my perspectives and students' perspectives. With this in mind, I chose a particular class that I'm having issues with. I'm not happy with the final assessment. So in this class, the students learn how to use a number of tools that take a digital input, a computer-aided drafting input, and the output is a product, something they make. The idea of this class is that they think critically, they explore, and they have a growth mindset. And it's not about using the tools, but rather about learning what they can do to make a difference with those tools. And this is tied to a general ed course that incorporates history, and so the students are asked to really stretch beyond their comfort zones in terms of making things, but also to stretch beyond their comfort zone to see how what they make can impact society, can impact their lifestyle. It's really about getting them to grow and stretch their capabilities both in what they can do and how they think. If you take a look at my documents for this class, I'm going to focus on the final project. The final project allows students to demonstrate the growth they have in the class. And you can see in the bullet points that I want them to include the tools and machine processes that stretch them, to tie to at least one idea from one day's lecture, which are history lectures, to document a design and problem-solving process, which aligns very well with the Optimizing Problem-Solving Pentagon. So we'll visit these in a little more detail in a moment, but you'll notice that on the right side is the grading rubric, and this is all focused on product. So the product includes a title that describes the project. Please include a paragraph that links to pictures of what's been done. So one of the gaps that I see here, and one of the things that bothers me, is that I'm asking for students to document their work using products, but I really want them to demonstrate their ability to think creatively and critically, and I want to get at the process of having them learn and stretch themselves a bit. So right off the bat, before I even start, I know I have a discrepancy. I know that this is not, the assignment is not what I want it to look like, and I'm going to use the Problem-Solving Pentagon to help me determine what's going on with this assignment. As I take a look at the assignment, I'm going to start taking a look at my description. When I take a look here, the final project asks students to demonstrate the core beliefs of the Fab Lab and to really not focus on tools and machines, but rather to take a look at the impact that these machines and technologies have on the economic, political, and social values that are related to product design. So as I look at this, what I'm asking them to do is to really analyze and synthesize, and I'm asking them, what does it all mean? However, if I go down to the bullet points, I can see that this isn't what I'm asking them to do. So let's take a look at some of the easier ones to analyze right off the bat. Reflect on what was tried, pictures, screenshots, and software. So this says reflect. And so I can tie that to the Problem-Solving Pentagon to reflect and also to evaluate what they did. What did work, what didn't work, and why. So there's an alignment there. That's fine. Next, I'm going to move up to include a final product, which asks them to give a picture demonstrating their skills and knowledge, or to have the actual item there that we can look at. And as I take a look at this, I start to struggle with the problem-solving pentagon and where that might fit. I ultimately am going to decide, well, that's communicate and apply, because that way I know I can see, I have a physical artifact that has them communicate that they can build something that demonstrates they have the skills and knowledge to do what I've asked them to do during the semester. The next item up is the problem-solving process that should align with the problem-solving pentagon in its entirety. So this is where I see alignment that's the strongest between this final exam and the problem-solving pentagon. So I'm asking them to use the design and problem-solving process to identify a want or need. So this is where students would embark and clarify. This can also be tied to find and generate. Collecting information. So collecting information I can tie to find and generate. Brainstorming and analyzing. Brainstorming and analyzing could also go over to find and generate. Developing a solution could be looking at different levels of the pentagon. So kids might need to organize and manage their data. They might need to evaluate and reflect. Also, when we go back up here to identifying a need, we can go to embark and clarify. Presenting ideas can be communicating. So I see that there's elements of the problem-solving pentagon, but again, it's going to be presented in a portfolio that's all about a product that's demonstrated. And while I can see that they have a product, what I don't see is whether or not they have the process down and can critically think as they walk through the problem-solving process. I've deleted the lines to add a bit of clarity as we continue. So I'm going to move up to this next idea, tie to at least one theme or idea from Monday's lectures. These are the history lectures. So this is where I would be asking students to analyze and synthesize. I'm also can say, well, I want them to be able to communicate and apply what they've learned from Monday's lectures to this final exam. So that's where I would align those elements. Finally, I'll come to the top bullet here. Include a variety of tools and machine processes that are meant to stretch your skill and knowledge beyond your comfort zone. So as I take a look at this, I struggle to say, where does this fit? And if I had to say anything, some of it's organized and managed because the students are giving me a list of tools. So here's the tools. The other thing that I could say is, all right, they have to evaluate and reflect on what this meant for them or how they grew. So I take a look at this, and this is where I see a weak link. I'm asking students to talk about how they've stretched their skill and their knowledge, which is a reflection piece for them, but I'm assuming that they can transfer working on a particular machine to growth. So I'm asking students to really reflect on their growth, and at the beginning of this semester, I did tell them that I wanted to stretch themselves and their skills and not build something they were familiar with, but I didn't ask them to really think about how they grew in their learning and how they were going to be lifelong learners or critical thinking. So, in summary, there's a number of things that I see that need to be improved with this assessment and the assumptions I'm making relative to what I'm expecting the students to do. There's a misalignment. So as I take a look at this, I can see that there's a misalignment. And so what I'm going to reflect upon is where this misalignment occurs. So let's capture some of the things that I can see from doing this exercise. So one of the things that I see is that I'm wanting them to process information and process higher order thinking skills and looking at information literacy, but I'm assessing mostly on the product. As I started the assignment and as I've been using the assignment, I know that I haven't been happy with it, but I couldn't put my finger on it until I did this assignment. So now I know that I don't really have clarity on what it is I want my students to be able to know or do. Or I have clarity in my mind, but I have not articulated my expectations clearly to the students. I have to consider that perhaps I'm using the wrong tool to frame this assignment. So when I take a look at documenting the problem-solving process, the problem-solving Pentagon works well. But if I'm looking at higher level thinking skills, or if I'm thinking about matching my expectations to what I'm telling the students, I may want to go visit Bloom's taxonomy to make sure that what I'm asking the students aligns with my thinking. The other thing is that I may want to go visit the framework for information literacy, because I'm very convinced that I can get students to demonstrate the problem-solving process, and that process aligns very well with the optimizing problem-solving Pentagon. I may need to tweak that a little bit, but as I look at what I'm asking students to do in terms of synthesizing their core beliefs and to take a look at how what they've learned aligns with today's economic, political, and social values, what I'm really asking them to do is synthesize and analyze at a very high level. And I'm asking them to process what they know and the information they've received during those Monday's lectures. So I've used this assignment to really take a look and analyze how I'm assessing students in one of my courses, what the final evaluation looks like, and whether or not I need to go and make some revisions. At this point in time, I would say, yes, I do, but deep down I already knew that because I just haven't been getting the kinds of results from students that I've imagined could be possible.